Good morning, friends. Myself, Dr. Nidhi Darbari on My Education Treasure. In my previous video on epistemology of Nyaya philosophy, I had discussed about the four valid sources of knowledge. In part 1, I had discussed about pratyaksh or perception. In part 2, I had discussed about Anuman, Upaman, and verbal testimony of Nyaya philosophy. Today, in my present video, I am going to discuss about the metaphysics and axiology of Nyaya philosophy. Logical quest of supreme, phases of creation, and science of logical reasoning. The sage Gautam Akaspad, eye-footed, Dirgh Tapas, long penance was the propounder of Nyaya school of philosophy. Nyaya means augmentation and suggests that the system is dominated by intellect and epistemology. It is also called Tark Shastra or science of reasoning, Praman Shastra or science of logic and epistemological, Hetuvad or science of cause-effect relationship, Vad Vidya or science of debate, and Anviksky or science of critical study. Gautam's Nyaya Sutra was commented upon by Vatsayan in his Nyaya Bhashya. On this, Udyog Tarkar wrote his Vartika, which was commented upon by Vachaspati in his Tatparya Tika. Upayana's Nyaya Kosamananjali and Jayan's Nyaya Manjari are the other important works of the school of philosophy. The Nyaya or the modern school of Indian logic begins with the epoch-making Tattva Chintamani of Ganesh Vasudev, Raghunath, Mathuranath, Jagdish and Gadadhar are the eminent logicians of the school. Metaphysics, concept of soul and liberation. The individual soul in the Nyaya system is considered as the subtraction of the quality of consciousness which is not its essence for only an accidental property. The soul is real knower, a real enjoyer and a real active agent and an eternal substance. It is not transcendental consciousness and it is different from God, who is the supreme soul. Cognition, affection, and connations are the attributes of the soul, which is one, partless, and all pervading. Each soul has its manas during its empirical life and separated from at liberation. It is distinct from the body, senses, and the mind. Manas. Bondage is due to ignorance and karma. Liberation is due to knowledge and destruction of karma. The Ved are the work of God and therefore claim absolute authority. Concept of God. The Nyaya philosophy accepts the metaphysics of Vaisheshik school and the accounts of matter, soul and God almost the same as those in the Vaisheshik. An atomistic and spiritualistic pluralism can lead only to an eternal theism where God, soul and atoms fall apart and the dualism of matter and spirit can never overcome. God is said to possess all the six perfections in their fullness: majesty, power, glory, beauty, knowledge, and freedom. Udayan's argument for the existence of God have become classical for theism and may be briefly noted here. He gave the following 9 arguments to prove the existence of God. The world is an effect and hence it must have an efficient cause. This intelligent agent is God. The order, the design, coordination between different phenomena comes from God. The atoms being essentially inactive cannot form the different combinations unless God gives motion to them. The unseen power requires the intelligence of God. Without God, it cannot supply motions to the atom. The word is sustained by God's will. An intelligent Adrishta cannot do this. The world is destroyed by God's will. A word has a meaning and signifies an object. The power of words to signify the object from God. Padat. God is the author of the infallible Ved. The Veds testify to the existence of God. The Veds sentences deal with the moral injunctions and prohibitions. The Vedic commands are divine commands. God is the creator and promulgator of moral law. According to Nyaya Darshan, the magnitude of a dyad is not produced by the infinitesimal magnitude of the two atoms. Number 1 is directly perceived, but other numbers are conceptual creations. Numerical conceptions is related to the mind of the perceiver. At the time of creation, the soul are unconscious, and the atoms and the unforeseen power and space, time are all conscious. Hence, the numerical conception depends upon the divine consciousness. So, God must exist. We reap the fruits of our own actions. Merits and demerits occur from our actions, and the stock of merit and demerit is called Adrishta, the unseen power. But the unseen power, being intelligent, needs the guidance of a supremely intelligent God. Axiology. Ethical values. The purpose of the Nyaya, which posits logical realism, is to attain the highest good of life, salvation, release, or freedom. The highest good is deliverance from pain and never the enjoyment of pleasure, for pleasure is always mixed with pain. The Nyaya believes in the law of karma and rebirth and pleads for pious life. The logical realism of the Nyaya does justice to the common sense view, no doubt, but its pluralistic metaphysics and is by no means final. The epistemological views were so cogent that they become guidelines to all future philosophies. It believes in Ashodaya and Nisrayas as twin end of life. It is therefore imperative for man to achieve worldly values such as earth, wealth, and calm enjoyment through right means. The ethical views correspondence for balance, body and soul to be kept together, which means that no one will be ignored at the cost of the other. Religious values. Morality is an entrance to the religious life, not the direct means to please God. Therefore, meditation is recommended in the system. Religious values in the system, however, are not the affair of an individual isolated from social life. Therefore, they hold that religion is what leads to the welfare of mankind. In this way, the Nyaya realistic attitude does not hold that a person living outside society and alone are religious. Aesthetic values. They seek the purification of human heart through language and meaning. It purifies the emotion called Chit Shuddhi. Love, joy, and beauty are the essence of aesthetic value. They stress harmony of physical and spiritual beauty. They reconcile the true, the good, and the beautiful physically perceived and with the same ideally conceived. self-bondage and liberation. Self, according to Nyaya school, is that substance which acquires consciousness. Consciousness is not an essential quality but is contingent and accidental. Contrast to Sankhya and Jain, who considers on consciousness is very essence of soul. Atma requires consciousness when it gets associated with man, sense, and external objects. According to Nyaya, Atma has six gun: desire, aversion, volition, pleasure, pain, knowledge. All these guns are present only when Atma is conscious or when it requires consciousness. However, in liberation state, it disassociates itself from man, senses, etc. In this state, Atma is unconscious and have no gun. According to Nyaya, Atma is afflicted with the beginningless ignorance. Many fallacies are produced which results in strong passions, and accordingly we do karma. To reap the fruits of these karma, we are caught in the cycle of birth and death. This cycle is the source of all pains and suffering. Absolute freedom from all pain and suffering is liberation. Apavarga, a state in which soul is released from all bond of its connection with body and senses. In itself ceases to have any experience, painful and pleasure, and exists as a pure substance devoid of consciousness. To attain liberation, one must remove the root cause, that is ignorance, which could be removed by acquiring true knowledge of self and all other objects of experience. According to Nyaya, there are three ways of it: Shravan, that is listening to spiritual instructions; Manan, firmly establishing the knowledge of self by means of reasoning; and Nidhyasan, that is meditation on self. With the realization of true knowledge, one ceases to be moved by actions due to passions and impulses. He ceases to be affected by the effect of present actions, and thus he sees no more birth. If you found the video to be informative and interesting, I request you all to please give a like to the video to motivate me, share it with others, and subscribe it so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get a notification. Nyaya Theology. God is one, infinite, eternal self who is the ultimate cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction of the world. He is the efficient cause but not the material cause. He is omnipotent, omniscient, and possesses all six perfection, Sada Shadasvairya. Eternal consciousness is inseparable attribute of God, moral governor of the world and impartial dispenser of fruits of our reaction, that is karma phal data. According to Nyaya school of theology, individual self can attain true knowledge of realities and through it the liberation only by the grace of God. The Nyaya theory of causation. A cause is defined as an unconditional and invariable antecedent of an effect, and an effect as an unconditional and invariable consequent of a cause. The same cause produces the same effect, and the same effect is produced by the same cause. The cause is not present in any hidden form whatsoever in its effect. The following conditions should be met. The cause must be antecedent, purvrati, invariability या नित्य पूर्वव्रति, unconditionality या ananya siddha. Nyaya recognizes 5 kinds of accidental antecedents. ananya siddha, mere accidental antecedent, example the color of the potter's cloth. Remote cause is not a cause because it is not unconditional, example the father of the potter. The co-effect of a cause are not causally related. Eternal substances or eternal conditions are not unconditional antecedent, example space. Unnecessary things, example the donkey of the potter. Nyaya recognizes three kinds of causes. Samvayi, material cause, example thread of a cloth. Asamvayi, color of the thread which gives the color of the cloth. And Nimit, efficient cause, example the weaver of the cloth. Thank you very much for patiently watching the video and don't forget to subscribe.